We are live. So we're live on all platforms. For those of you watching, I think I'm going to pause the music. No need for music now. Good. Happy Friday, everyone. So if you're watching, this is the Share Your Change Maker Story Live event. And it's going to be an interesting event because we want to run this event once every month till March. It's inspired by the Change Maker, WBS Change Maker session going on now. And if you don't know WBS, that's Warwick Business School in the UK, the Change Maker session. So before we start, I think a good introduction. So you know those in the room, you get to know those that are going to be sharing interesting, insightful work and inspiring us today. So I could start from myself. My name is Jane Egerton-Idehen. I'm based in Dublin. I work for Meta of Facebook. I had a sales team there across the Middle East and Africa. And with that, I'm just going to go as I see everyone on the screen. Payal, I'm going to go next to you.
Hi, I'm Payal Nath from India. I work in Kolkata, which is East India. And we work across more than 6,000 families, rural women. We work with the crafts, what these people make, and we help them to train, set up an ecosystem, and sell and have sustainable products, plus sustainable economic livelihoods.
So the next person based on the screen, and Shiri, is actually you.
Oh, that's awesome. Tough one to follow, Payal. But I'm Manushree. I'm also based in India. So I work at Sirohi. I'm coming to this meeting on behalf of Body. So I work for Body company. So we're basically a Lux system brand for home decor and lifestyle products. And our mission is to provide income opportunities to women artisans who are assisting crafts. So we're essentially, we are backed by a large network, over 5,000 women artisans. And middle to Payal, we're also reviving, generation old craft weaving patterns, and just trying to create a good social impact.
Thank you, Anturi. Just check your audio because I found a little bit of echo or like a disconnection. So maybe check if to see that it's plugged nicely into the piece. And I will go to the next person on the screen, Michael. Michael, an introduction from you.
All right. Good day, everyone. My name is Osariti Michael. I'm based in Nigeria, particularly in Benin City, that's southern Nigeria. And currently, I work as a aggregator manager. That's also a sales manager for OPay Digital Services. That's a fintech company, and our mission is just basically to provide simple payment solutions for business owners around Nigeria and Africa as a globe.
Excellent. So for those of you watching, this is the Share Your Change Maker story, and it was inspired by Warwick Business School. So Warwick Business School, I am an alumni of Warwick Business School, started a Change Maker story last month, and they identified 4 different alumni that are doing great work impacting their communities. But I think what I really loved is their concept of who a change maker is. And it says that the change makers are bold, relentless, unstoppable, curious, and determined. Our change makers seek to challenge the norm and question the status quo, making an impact in society, demonstrating strong entrepreneurial spirit, working to disrupt both the industry and personal expectations. True to themselves, change makers turn challenges into dreams and breaks down barriers for others. I thought it was just a good way to explain what we're doing today. Because I feel in many and very odd ways, lots of people are change makers in their own communities. And that's why we wanted to have this session, is to share this story, hoping that as we share these inspiring stories, you get motivated, you that is watching, you get motivated and inspired to do what you can in your own little way in your community. So I'm going to start up by saying quickly, just a bit of ground rules. If you're watching us, hi, Dr. Nonyanlam, hi, Nosida, Gary, amazing, you could join. Emmanuel, hi, Olamide, hi. Know that you can actually ask them questions. So if you put your questions in the chat box, they'll be happy to ask. We've gone across the globe to bring people from different continents. And today's guest on the hot seat, so myself and Anshuria are co-hosting, but Payal and Michael will be really speaking to us. So I'm going to start by Anshuria I'm going to hand over to you to say maybe you could start off with the questions.
Yes, sure. I'm excited to hear all of the answers today. We have a full panel here. So I will start with Payal. The first question. I hope you can hear my audio is fine.
I can make out what you're saying, although it's not very clear, but yes, I can
Yes,
make
your audio is not so good. Yeah.
So sorry. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'll try to switch it in the next one. So the first question is, when was the first time you actively took charge of a situation to create a change and create that impact?
Yeah, so if that is related to my career, I can speak about that. When I started working, I was a young girl of 25. Now I'm 52. Yeah, just the opposite.
Wow, amazing.
When I started working and many last century, I would say in 1990s, working as a consultant with the government to come up with solutions for livelihood solutions for communities. And I took up as a career later on. So initially, as a consultant, I would earn as much as the entire village that which I was working. They would earn in a year, in 1 year, and I just didn't like it. And I said, it's just not right. I mean, I have, by God's grace, everything that I need, and I have an education. So with the government project, if I'm earning more and they are not earning more, where is the gap, and what is it that needs to be fulfilled? I mean, of course, the government, nobody will listen to a 25-year-old girl at that time, right? So I thought, let me try, and what I feel I can do in my best capacity to make this change happen in their lives in these villages where I work. So that was the first time, like I said, when I was 25, I started this. And I think uh, the biggest shift that I really feel happy about was that these ladies with whom we started work about good 20 years ago, they are change makers today in their society, in their clusters, in their villages. They felt they had nobody to handhold. They thought that, they looked up to us as role models, but now they have become role models for further a lot of more communities in the village. So yeah, I mean, I think that's one story which is, I think, very close to my heart because they are the change makers. I'm just the face of them now.
Wow. That's so touching. Like just hearing you say that. I think one of the things I picked from what you said is the fact that you said that at the time you were working, you noticed that your pay was equivalent to almost like half the villagers they're earning, and I think is grounded to be faced with that reality. Kind of grounds you. But Michael, let's go to you because Michael. Interesting for those of you that don't know, I met Michael on LinkedIn. See how powerful LinkedIn is. Michael went viral like a year ago when a work he did in a very obscure place got picked up by the BBC and it became viral all over social media. Michael, I really want you to share a bit about that, that impactful work. How did it come to be and what was that work about? If you could share a bit about it.
Good everyone. The work was basically about what I did last year that kind of went viral was the construction of two boreholes for two villages in Ondo State, which is a state in Nigeria. And the background of the story is that normally, as a Nigerian youth, a young person in your 20s, or someone that just finished graduating from school, you are mandated to go for a national service. And during my national service, I was posted to that state, Ondo State. So where I was like the capital of Ondo State. But as I moved around, just moving around, doing my national service, I stumbled across the community. And when stumbling across the community, I remember I overheard some people lamenting about the way the community was. Then I just began to ask questions like, how can I help the people? So I consulted with they call the person the regent, that's like the ruler at that time. And she told me, okay, see, it's what we are suffering in this community. don't have steady lights, the road is not good. Then have to go to those villages, and those villages were kind of like for you that for most of you that saw the video on BBC, it's they were in a pathetic state. Like they had no access to electricity, no lights, no good road, no good water. So I just had to tell myself like, even if I knew that I was not financially capable at that moment, but I just had this belief that if I can make a move to gather resources together, we can actually solve together. We can actually solve the problem for these people. And the project took about 7 months to be able to gather the resources, and at the end of the day, by God's grace, I was able to achieve it with the help of people that I met.
Now I know you make it sound so simple, but that little act he did, I think the BBC picked up the story because it was in a rural place where they had no access for water for quite for years, and they were shocked that this was coming from a student, just barely a student that graduated, that probably could have been doing other things, but what he thought was what he just said: "How can I help? How can I support?" And Shuri, over to you. Let's go to the next question.
This is really
Really interested.
Pyle started at a young age, and now we have Michael who's also starting. So I think the youth energy, who's always so driven to make changes, is really inspiring. And I hope that people watching are also motivated to their impact forward. I'll go ahead with the next question. So oftentimes you have already imagined, planned your actions, with the kind of impact you want to make, and you want to believe, that there's a particular kind of experience that you will have. So how pan out, like your imagination versus the reality, and what were the challenges related to it? How did you improvise on the way? Just tell us a little about it. Maybe,
Yeah, thanks, Anushree. Yeah, so you want, Michael? I didn't hear that part to answer this question.
And she was actually talking about challenges. It's like what the challenges you faced, if I'm right. That's what she wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
how different it was from, in your.
okay, what the original was, and then how much we had to
Yeah.
deviate or improvise that. Got it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Oh boy, I mean, this is a line which is not run by logic more. It's more by the. My husband always tells me that you have a heart here and you have a heart here. So you have two hearts, one in your head and one in your heart, real heart. So you have to work with heart. You have to work because that's where it's not easy to work in this sector initially. But if your heart is in it, if you feel you can make a change, you realize you can make a change, you just go for it. And it's like being a parent. I mean, I was a young mother of a very small baby at that point of time when I started. And I mean, it's like your baby has teething issues, then you have to improvise and see what best is the solution for that. Then as a parent, you figure out that the child is not eating, then what do you do so that the child starts to eat? So this work is like bringing up a baby, which is your baby as well, because you're so passionate about doing what you want to do. And improvisation is a way of, I mean, you have to go with, it's like the weather, it's nature, right? I mean, if the weather is not okay and suddenly how so much forecasters might have told what the weather is going to be, if it changes, you improvise because you still do what you have to do.
Micah, why don't you speak to that question as well? Because I thought that was a very good question. Did you have to improvise, and what were the challenges you faced?
Okay. In terms of the challenges, one of the challenges I faced, like, because when I started this project, it's a laudable idea. So because I've never engaged in this kind of project before, I just thought that maybe if I meet some government officials, if I meet some charity organizations, they'll just say, "Oh, I'm going to support you. You're a young man." Because I was 21 as at that time when I started the project. So I just thought maybe they'll just support me, give me this go ahead. But it was a different reality. Like I thought that maybe within the span of 2 months, I can, because the total money I used for the project I did, I realized close to was almost 2 million naira, and at that point in time, the value then in terms of dollars was about $4,000 as a last year for the project. So The challenges I faced was especially with the finances because many people didn't want to support me, and coupled with the fact that in Nigeria, one challenge I've seen is that many people want there to be change, but they don't want to become agents of change. Like you see, it's very common to see Nigerians lamenting the government, the government, the government. But when you tell them, okay, this is what we want to do, can you lend a hand? They won't want to. And another thing I faced was that I said it during the BBC interview was that place is a very tribalistic place. Like it was when I was serving, it was because I served in Ondo State. That's in Yoruba, the western part of Nigeria. I'm from the south. It was as of last year that I knew there's a difference between a southerner and a westerner. Like they are not the same because once I get there, they'll be like, are you Yoruba? I'll be like, I'm not Yoruba, I'm a Benin man, I'm from the south, I'm from southern Nigeria. They say, we can't help you, we only help our kinsmen or our tribesmen. And I was pretty much shocked. Like even there was one experience that really hurt me a lot. Like I remember I met a church. So the church had a charity organization and I met them. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I talked to them. These people could literally give me the help because they had other projects they were already doing at that point in time. But the person told me that if I'm not their tribesman or if I'm not their church member, there is nothing for me. Like it was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. So I imagined like the way I imagined I was like, okay, maybe in the next 3 months I'll get all the money, then I'll start the project and I'll finish it. But I had to improvise. The improvisation was that as I got any amount I get, I started doing it stepwise. Like if I see maybe if it's 50,000 naira or if it's let me convert it to dollar, maybe it's $100 or $50 or $200. I started using it step by step. And another challenge that I faced was the time management because if you are serving in Nigeria, you'll be given a work to do by the government. So I was kind of working in a school, assisting in school. So it was really hard balancing the two. So the only time, like what I did, because I never told anyone, I had to, because they were actually paying me in school for the work I was doing. So I had to plead with the principal that this is what I'm doing, since I don't have time to go around to source for funds. Because I was working from, let's say, I was working from Mondays to Fridays. So I had to beg the woman to give me Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday. From Wednesday to Friday, I won't come to the school to work so that I can go and do my fundraising. And the deal we struck was that they won't pay me if they give me those 3 days off. So I had to accept no payment so that I can have enough time to source for funds for the project.
What I like about what we are hearing, or what I am hearing, is the fact that you could be in your 20s, you could be in your 50s. It doesn't stop you from creating change. You would face barriers. Just listening to you guys, Bayal and Michael, talk about how you had to improvise. There's no perfect time. You won't have all the resources. Even the people you're providing the change for might not technically want it or like you because of their own perception or stereotypes. But you have to go through those odds. But I would like to ask one question to both of you, Payal and Michael, as well, because just listening to you, that's what I see, that I believe that for that journey, you were changed. There's something you learned, there's something you took away. If you had to reflect on the journey, now personally, I would like to ask you if there are 2 things you think you took away. It either helped you become a better person or it added to yourself. I would like you to speak to it. Just maybe 1 or 2 things, not much. If you think about the journey.
Yeah, should I go first, Jane?
Yeah, you can go first, Payal. You can go first.
Okay, yeah. So I think the first thing, because when you work in a bigger company or wherever you're working, you have a huge infrastructure, you have a lot of people to support. So it's not one person doing everything. And here, with least resources in terms of money, as well as in terms of human resource of people, you have to find solutions, and large solutions, and quickly. So there is a growth, personal growth for sure, how to convert 24 hours into 48 hours. So the learning of splitting every minute, multitask, in becoming more efficient, that is the tangible change that I feel that has definitely come in. To be able to, nothing is difficult, every situation, okay, we can find a solution for it. You learn to do that, one. And the second thing, I think I have grown spiritually as well.
Good.
That I've grown as a person internally. So as much as you grow externally for the community, you grow internally as an individual as well. You become more humble, and you are so thankful to whatever you have, because there is so much that God has given us that we just more thankful. Yeah, that's from my
Gratitude. I
side.
love that. The spirit of gratitude. So that's good. Good spiritual journey. Michael, how about you? What would you say to that?
If I can understand your question correctly, you are asking about, is it the things that we learned or
Yes, how did it change you personally? Because sometimes you do these things and everybody thinks you're doing it for just the community or the people that are receiving it. But I think in going through that journey, maybe something happened to you. You learned something, your skills got improved, or there's something you acquired along the way. It'll be good to hear from you what it is. Just one or two would be nice.
the one thing that taught me is endurance a lot, and perseverance. Like it's the project that actually made me cold, like how I say that, strong-hearted. Because when I started the project span was like 7 months. So at like within, I told you I raised up to 2 million naira, which is about $4,000 as of last year, which was the conversion rate. So let's say within the first 3 months of doing the project, I have not even realized up to $200. Like if I want to speak in dollars. So at that point in time, I was kind of demotivated. But it got to a point in time that I just said, I just had this feeling that since we have started, we can't just give this thing up. Like you have to follow this thing through. So it didn't matter the number of no's, the number of disappointments, the number of hurdles I met in the way. What I was just seeing was those people getting water, being happy, and I was really surprised with the way, because even my parents were like, "This, you were not strong like this before," and they were like, "Wow, for you to achieve this thing, it made you a harder person." And also, my kind of personalities, I'm kind of like, I was not actually good socially. Even if I'm not an expert in terms of relationship, connecting with people. But if you are doing something like that, you have to have this relationship communication skill. And it actually made me a better communicator, in terms of talking to people. And one thing I discovered is that people really want to help you. Like that's one thing that this thing taught me. People really want to help you. You just have to find the right people. You have to just keep on finding the right people, because you will definitely see people who will support you and stick with you to the end of whatever you are trying to do.
Oh, thank you, Michael. So what I hear from you is that definitely that it did help improve your communication skills,
Yes, yeah,
but it took you that mental capacity to endure, to be
yeah,
more tolerated. And Per, like
yes,
you said, it was a very humbling experience for you. So
yeah.
humility was something that comes to mind. And it was
Right.
spiritual as well because it brought in gratitude. And this is really a season of gratitude. It's almost how many more days to Christmas when we are
I want to I want
ending.
to add just one more thing,
Yeah.
I mean, I have given birth to one daughter, one child, but now on Mother's Day, I receive more than hundreds and hundreds of messages of Happy Mother Day. So it's very difficult to explain the love that you get. There's so much love out there, and it's very humbling.
So
So
you have more children than your physical child.
yes.
And Shiri, over to you. You take the next one.
This sounds amazing. Journeys that you have gone through and things you've done. And also, I believe that the journeys you take, it's not a myth. Like most people, jobs, like they want their livelihood and not, disturb the water. They don't want to create ripples. Uh, both of you have taken that path, and I'm sure that there are a lot of challenges you've faced. There are times where you might have also wanted to give up. So I would just like to know the source of courage that you have, pushed you in going forward and creating such impact. And where that source
The
of courage comes
source
from.
The source of courage, if I've understood correctly, that's what you want to know, the source of courage.
Yes.
That's what I had too.
Okay. So, I think love, for me, that is what is the source of courage. The love that your loved ones give you, whom you're born with, and the kind of relationships that you build amongst the community with them. It is enormous. I don't know if there is time. I want to just tell about a small story when we were working in a village in Urissa, and the local uh, people, I would say the men sometimes, and also the political leaders, this is 15 years ago, they threatened and they said that you will not be alive, Payal, if you stay back, and you should go leave this village immediately. So I got in touch with all the 24 ladies at that time. We were working, and I said that, listen, I have to go back, but we will come back. Don't worry, we are here. So, and these ladies were, it was not easy for them. They were threatened. We used to sit under a tree and work that time. There was no work shed, no hall to train to work, nothing like that. So, always meek. But somehow, from where did they get the courage? I don't know. That they collected more than 400 women from various villages, and they were standing political leaders' place that our sister, elder sister, will not go. Nobody can. So the courage that you get is also, it's mutual. So they get encouraged because they know there is somebody with you, and we get encouraged and we get more courage to do this because you know that you are helping to unleash the dormant strength which lies with these people already. Yes, I think for me, as an example of courage, is the love, the respect that you get from each other, and also thinking about my own loved one, like my own daughter. She was 4 years old. She started to stammer because I used to spend a lot of time in the village. So she probably felt emotionally insecure. And so I decided to take her to the village with me. And over there, she saw, I said, for me, children, my daughter is the most important, but I want you to see what I do. And sleeping on the floor for a 15 days with no toilets, to go in the fields for the toilet and everything. For a privileged child studying in an international school, it wasn't easy. But she came back and she said, Ma, I have everything. I have a grandmother. I have everything at home. But they don't have, they need you. So you get the courage from your loved ones also once they get to know, the relationship. 4-year-old could also see that, that her mother was adding value or was a part of the community. So I think the loved ones at home and the love that you get and the courage that you get from outside, a combination of that is infinite.
Actually, listening to prayer, sometimes I feel like crying. But yes, love gives you the courage, the love from your loved ones, the other women, like you said, or like from your daughter. It rubs off. One person's love gives the other one's courage to continue. I'm going to just quickly, Michael, before you go for that same question answer, I just wanted to reach out to those in the chat box. Peter, Nokendo, Jude, I see you. Lewis, I see you. Ignatius, Anele, I see you. Manny, I see you. If you guys have questions, Dr. Nonyalim, I see you as well. If you have questions for Emmanuel or questions for Payal, please put it in the chat box. We would like to get your own viewpoint and hear from you as well. So with that, I hand over to you, Michael. Please go ahead and answer the question.
The thing that inspired me not to give up when things got hard was just like Phil said, was my family members. Like I remember my mom, she would send me a message, she would call me. She was really into the project. Like every like almost every 2 days, she always called me to check on me, not to give up. Even my elder brother and my sister too. Then also the community, like after spending time in the community, because the community was a very far place from where I was. So when you go there, you see the way things are, and when you feel tired, like there's this spirit, like I think there was this spirit that kept on disturbing me, that you have to do this thing, you have to do this thing, like you just have to do this, you can't just give up. You can't just give up. Like there was this disturbing spirit. And anytime that I felt like quitting, I always remember, like, see the way the community was. And if you watch the BBC video, you see the water they were taking had spirogyra. Like, it's like you can't just leave them to continue like this. So it actually inspired me. And also, one of the reasons why I embarked on this career was because when I was younger, I saw other people during their service. Like when I was little, I saw people during their service doing wonders for the community itself. So I was like, if I can do this thing now, if it can inspire the children with that community, that when they grow up and they become of age, they come to the time when they are serving, so they will definitely be inspired to do the same thing when they are serving. If they see that someone, let's say a young person that was serving came to do something for them, then when it's their turn, they will really want to do something for others. So those things just gave me the courage.
I don't know, when he said his mom, I was like, oh, but but Michael, like you said, you're doing it because you saw somebody do it when you were younger, and
Yeah, those
even
were, yeah, yeah, that's one of the
you
reasons. Like, yeah, I
yeah.
saw.
So
Yeah.
that's a good courage, a reason to do it, or the courage to continue. But I think it's also speaking to the audience, because I'm hoping that people listening to you, Priyal and Michael, will, because of what they've heard today, sometime in future do like you've done, find a way to create change and impact their community as well. I'd like to ask another question, but we are asking those in the audience. Please don't forget, you can drop your questions in the chat box. We would really love to take your questions so you can be part of it. But listening to you guys, I do have a question I want to ask. Like, let's go back now to the nitty gritty. If you had to do it again, if if we turn back the time, or turn back the hands of the clock, like we say, if you had to do it again, would you change anything? If you had to do it again, Payal, would you change anything?
Any situation given now, I would say that you throw any lemons, we'll make lemonade.
Juicy,
So,
juicy lemonade for a Friday.
so yeah, I mean, I think we're so grateful to God for the community, for people, for loved ones, for having given this life. And my father used to always say that when we live, when you're born on this planet, you have to pay a rent to the planet. And how do you pay a rent to the planet? Is by being useful, first to yourself, second to your family, then to the society, then the community, bigger, international, the planet, as much as you can, and you grow your potential so that you can grow yourself to be useful to the whole planet at large. So I think with that kind of an upbringing, that kind of a knowledge, I've grown up. My mother, my father was in the services, civil services, so he used to get posted to a new state every 3 years. My mother would go, she was a professor, but she could not carry on her profession. But wherever she would go, she would open a school for the underprivileged, and no sense of ownership to it, no sense of that I should run it for all my life, just hand over to the community and every 3 years. So I've grown up seeing these kind of examples. And I think I've seen them make a life out of whatever was given to them, and I think that's something exactly for me also. Whatever life I've got, whatever else is given to me, I'll happily take it and try and convert it into a lemonade, a juicy one, like you said.
I like that. So no matter what if we had to go back again, like you said, you would take all those lemons and still turn them into lemonade, juicy lemonade. Michael, how about you?
Yeah, I'll still do the same thing, and if I were to go back, I won't do more because I kind of limited myself. I knew I was capable of doing more, like doing other things within the villages. So, but I just did the water, which is also okay. Or if I were to go back, with the knowledge and everything I got from the project, I would want to do more for the community.
So you make a bigger jar of lemonade, not just a
Yes,
glass.
yeah, certainly.
That's good. Actually, over to you, actually. Oh, actually, I think you're mute. You're on
We
mute.
can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, so while Anshiri is trying to solve her audio,
Can
you
you-
back.
Okay. Yeah, I think I keep having some issues with the mic this stream. But yeah, like I said, that it's so nice to hear all of this, because it's like knowledge I feel like soaking. And I wish all of this was taught in schools. I wish the information, the knowledge that Payal's dad was giving, I wish it was in school, and children could be inspired to create the impact. I can't imagine what the world would look like if that knowledge was there. But taking this platform, I mean, people have shown their interest and joined in. So, what is the one advice that you would like to give to people, maybe the youth who trying to do something for their community, who's trying to make an impact? And what is that one advice you would like to give them so that they can make the most of it?
This time Michael could go first.
Michael, go first.
Okay. So you're asking what advice I would give to anybody that wants to be a change maker.
Yes.
Okay. I would just say, I don't sound like a motivational speaker, but I believe anything is possible. I believe anything is possible. Whatever idea you have in your head, it's very, very possible. And one thing I would want to advise anybody, like the success of any project, like most of the projects, it depends on the relationship you're trying to. It will depend on the relationship that you'll be able to build during the process, because you need people to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And if you can get the right people to work with, then it's very, very possible. Like, it's very, very possible. Don't limit yourself. Anything is possible. That's just I would say.
Okay, so for me, if you, I would like to say that, of course, Mahatma Gandhi from our country used to say, "Be the change you want to see." That is one. Whatever you are not happy with, whatever you feel is not going okay, maybe you can take the first step in the way you know what you can do, to make that change. And with you, with your energy, you can start a movement. That is one. And yeah, I think that's one advice I'd like to give for sure. And never give up. I've seen there have been swings. I've been through being a mother of a child, my husband who's traveling 20 days in a month and alone, almost alone, bringing up my child, and being a parent and solving the issues of the child as she was growing up. And I've seen that everything works out. She's she's an angel that I have now. She's settled well. She's working so well. She's a 23-year-old girl now, a lady now. And everything happens. Everything happens smoothly if you believe in what you believe and you consistently balance both the change which defines you as an individual and your responsibilities of existing in the family where you live. Both can go happily side by side if your grit in what you believe you want to change is strong enough. So have that strength in you, because you actually have that strength in you, which is probably maybe not exposed to its highest potential. So unleash that.
Good one. Unleash that.
Can I,
Actually,
can
let
I,
me. Okay, go ahead, Michael. Go
can I
ahead.
add? Yeah. Another thing I want to say is that if you really want to do change making, especially in a country like Nigeria, developing countries where it's kind of high poverty rates, many people are not going to believe you at first. Many people are not going to support you. So it's up to you to actually make it happen, because it's going to be very, very discouraging. Like, there are other people that have come to meet me. How do I do this? How do I do that? I tell them at first, many people, they're not going to support you. In chemistry, because I studied chemistry, there's something we call activation energy. That is the minimum energy that needs to be reached before a reaction can proceed. So you need to have a high energy to overcome the activation energy of people. Like, you need to make them see that that thing is possible before they can support you. Like, when I was doing the project like this, like 5 stages if you want to do a borehole. Like, there was 5 stages if you want to do a borehole. And there's this stage we call the drilling. That is the drilling, the actual drilling. And that drilling, like, it's like once you get that's like stage 3, and stage 3 is like 70% of the entire work. It was only after I have gotten to stage 3, it's like 70% before I started seeing massive support. So from that stage 1, or let's say from 0% to 70%, I did like basically 85% of the job, or I traveled that journey alone. Because after I got to 70%, I now saw a lot of support, because even the community people, the villagers that didn't initially believe me, when they saw that they have already hit that stage, all of them ready to support. And within few days or within a month, I was able to do everything. So just know that at first it's going to be very tiring. Nobody's going to believe you. So it's up to you to make sure that they see that goal, that thing is achievable before they support.
Michael, I like that analogy. What did you call it? What did you call the energy level? Reaction level or something? What
So
did
they
you
call
call
it
it?
activation energy, like in
Oh,
chemistry,
okay. So
activation
I like
energy. Yeah,
that because it's similar to what Priya is saying. So you bring the
yeah.
energy, but you are saying you have to get the energy to the activation level
Yes,
before the
yes. Like,
others might
yeah,
come.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's good. Just writing on that, I want to read a comment in the comment section because we also want the people that are participating online to be part of it. And this is a comment by Manuela Asiano. I hope I pronounced it right. Manuela says sometimes she also wonders if she can go back and change anything. But what I love that she said is that she believes that everything that happens has made us, each and every one of us, who we are. Even the lemons are part of it as well. So the lemons are part of your story. I love that. I just thought I should share that because someone needs to hear that today, that your lemons are also part of your, just turning those lemons to lemonade or just having those lemons is also part of the story, which will bring me back to the next question. Please keep putting your questions. I love those questions and comments. I'll keep reading them. They're so inspiring. I know the audience is, we do have a hugely professional audience because we're streaming this on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, but the audience is mostly professionals. And I know they'll be asking, thinking to themselves, why are we listening to people talking about impact of, impactful work in communities? What has it got to do with me being an engineer, me being an accountant, me being a cybersecurity expert, in whatever field they are in? Especially think about what is happening now, maybe in tech and all that. It's like a tough time for professionals. There's a whole story about recession coming in. I don't think people will be wondering, well, why should we be in the mood to try and help others? So I want to hear from you guys. Has this in any way impacted your professional? Because we have never mentioned anything about your professional careers. Is it any way this is entwined or has impacted, maybe even hindered your professional careers? Michael, maybe you will go first this time.
So are you asking how the thing affected my career life?
Yes, so in any
Benefits?
way, positive, negative, because we do know we have a highly professional audience. And sometimes people, especially for us professional, we are very focused on our jobs. And some of this impactful work, we feel we are too busy, or we don't see how it relates back to our work, or we probably see it might be a hindrance to the work we do as a professional. So I want you to share from your experience if there's any way this has impacted positively, negatively to your professional career.
The positive thing that it has affected positively to my career, I would say it increased my, why say empathy, understand? Like my empathy, like after doing that project, seeing those people, like because the job I work as a sales manager, I interact with a lot of people, and after doing that kind of project now, I have this high level of paying attention to people's problems. Like instead of just doing what the company tells me to do, I actually listen to their problems and see how I can do it or resolve the problem, even if it's not a normal method. I try and do it in a different way just to make sure that those people problems are addressed. So I think it made me more, increase my level of empathy. That's how it helps me.
So you're bringing some skill sets you have acquired as part of that project to your professional work, like empathy, and it's
Yes,
helping
yeah,
improve the work you do professionally.
yeah.
Yeah, how about you? Do you want to add to that as well?
Yeah.
Sorry, is that question to me,
Yes,
Jane?
I said, do you want to add to that? So I know
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it's slightly different, but yeah, if you could add.
Sure, sure. I did not know that it's possible to make a profession of being a change maker also, till a corporate reached out and said, "You're doing this for 10 years already," and I mean, they were surprised that we don't charge any money for what we were doing. I was putting all my professional money, being a professional, into this work, as my savings into this work. And so that's when I'd love to say the name of this company as well, HCL, which is a multinational company. They said, Payal, you should be charging for this. Why are you not charging us? And that's when I realized that if your passion for doing a change you can actually become a full-fledged paying profession or as well, wherein it's an impact. Whatever work you're doing, it has an impact which is tangible and intangible both. So you actually show the return on investments in terms of your profession to the people who are funding the project in some form. There are ways of not just measuring the profit, but there are so many ways of measuring. How are you making the planet positive solutions, things like that. So I think
How are you paying your rent, like you said? How are you paying your
I
rent?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So when did it turn into from a passion project to a profession? I don't know, but it just changed when it engulfed me into that black hole wherein everything starts, and that's where your beginnings are. I feel as a professional change maker as well. It's very much possible to do that. Second thing I'd say, not from a personal perspective, but otherwise for other professionals who maybe cannot take time, but they do maybe on a weekend a small act or small thing. It makes you very sensitive to a lot of things, even when you buy, for example, basic needs. When you pick up a product to buy for your need, whether it's a clothes or for your home or something, you're more sensitive to where the communities are making it, how much of hard work and labor goes into doing it, whether it was saving the water, whether it was looking after so many other aspects. So you become a sensitive consumer apart from being a sensitive individual in your existence as well, I feel.
Yeah, I love that word. Sensitive, or like they say, conscious consumer. So you're more conscious or aware of your environment and how you're actually impacting whatever activities you're doing. That's so good. But yeah, I did like the fact that I like that your phrase about paying rent to the planet, because I think for me it just clicks when you say that. Like, how are you paying rent to the planet? Could be another way. I know, like you said, your case is slightly different because it was a passion project, but it's now become um, a professional one. So it's more like the reverse. You take your passion and it grows and becomes more like a career. And Shiri, I want to hand over to you if you have any question for them before we go to the questions from the audience. And Shiri, can you hear us? Yeah.
What's
Oh, your audio is really, I don't know if you guys can hear her. I couldn't. I don't know how you're connected in terms of audio. Maybe you could disconnect and reconnect the audio. So while she's doing that, if you guys have questions, because I'm reading questions from the chat box soon, please help us with those questions. It would really be good to. I want you guys to also ask them because I find their story quite impactful. So I really, and for those of you joining, I want to share a bit about what we are doing. So WBS Warwick Business School started an initiative where they are sharing change maker stories out, and they pick some of their alumni. And I think one of the great things for me was that attending that school really gave me a bit of confidence to do what I ended up doing. And Gary as well, my colleague, and Justin as well. There are about four of us but we thought it was good to extend it so that others can share their story because we believe everybody's a change maker. From a 20-year-old, wherever you are, to a 50, wherever you are in the continent, and whatever you're doing, you can be a change maker. And Shiri, you're back. Let's see if your audio is back as well. Yes, yes, I think it's better.
Thank God. I think we can now start taking questions from the audience. I think they had some lovely comments here. If questions, we would love to.
Okay, so I will be trying to take questions. I think one question asked here, I will just go with the question. I'm trying to check all the platforms to see the questions. How did you get people you had? Okay, let me see. I have one here from Olamide. She says, "Are there errors you think you made during your change maker project? Something you think we can learn from?" I think this is going to Michael. Michael, it could be to you, Pearl, to you. Maybe Michael, if you want to start, you know.
No, let's just start.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael, you passed it to me or you're answering? I didn't hear that.
No, I wanted you to go first.
Okay, you wanted me
Okay.
to talk about
Okay.
it. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So, yes, the errors that we made in our Chainmaker project. So, sometimes when we go and start to work in the community, initially, because we come from some privileged background, a lot of education, sometimes we assume that we have the answers to some of the problems that they might have. It is not so. For sure, it is not so because they have been living in that situation, and so they know what the hurdles are. So to be able to, I think this is a mistake when we go with the thinking that we are going to help them and we are the on a higher side because we've come to help you. That is a big error. I feel a big mistake because when we are going there, we know that we were born with some privileges, but we are equals when we go there because the kind of circumstances in which they are living right now and what they have managed with that, we may not have been able to manage if we had been in that situation. We don't know the situation that well. So that's one error I feel. So to go, and the answer to this is to probably go as equals. To give you an example of what we changed when we did this again, first project what we did, second time again we went. There were no beds to sleep. We were not sleeping in the hotel close by town. We were living in the village itself. Although I had a huge apartment to live in the city, but when I was going to the village, I with my entire team, we would sleep on the floor just as they slept. They were eating one meal a day, which was rice boiled with some salt, and we made sure that we were also eating just that, to feel the pains, to understand how they are, and to make a connection. Then they believe in you that yes, they will understand our problems and share with you. And then you can find the appropriate solution mutually. Whatever needs to be filled in the gap, then we can do that. So this is from my experience.
Wow, that's seeing the world from their eyes and building connection. Even as a salesperson, I'll tell you that's the greatest job any salesman would like to do is to connect with their audience, their clients, and once you can connect, even your kids, even as a parent, once you can connect with that person, I think the rest is history. Amazing. Really amazing. Michael, how about you? Any
Okay.
errors you made during the Changemaker project and something you think the audience can learn from?
Yeah, this error I made, I don't think it may be applied applicable to other nations. But for those of you that are watching from Nigeria, especially if you are doing a project that involves providing basic amenities like water, electricity, and the likes, I will suggest you work in hand with the government. I know like what I mean because the government initially they won't want to support you if you don't have the resources. But if you have the resources, I believe they are the best person to go. Because like for example now, I spent everything I spent on the two boreholes was close to let's say 2 million naira, which is equivalent to $4,000 as of last year. And I work with private companies, private this thing. Most private companies they don't understand things. They don't understand things like charity and the rest. But if I had worked with the government agency now, it would have been less. Like I would have spent less, and there were certain privileges they would have given given to me because I was serving that I didn't get because I was working with the private agency. So I believe if you have the resources to effect a change and it's in line with all these social amenities, the government agencies that maybe if it's water, you go to the water bodies. I believe they are the expert, and you will spend less when you work hand in hand with them. So in case I'm doing another project, which I'm definitely going to do next year, I'm going to work with the government agencies because I've seen their parts is let's say less, the more cost, let's say less costly than when you work hand with private organizations.
Michael, thank you for that. But I think it can apply to others as well, because what you're saying is just involve the relevant stakeholders. It
Yeah,
could be
yeah.
government agency or regulator. And hopefully you involve them after the reaction energy. Did we say the reactive energy? What was the tipping point? You know,
Activation energy, yeah,
the
yeah.
activation energy, because I know before the activation energy, you might not get the attention.
Yes,
But once
yeah,
you
yeah.
get that activation energy, you're likely to get the attention. Wow, it has been, the time has gone. We could stay here the whole day, but the time has gone, so we really can't take any more questions. But I want to say any final words before we wrap up. I've really enjoyed this lunch break. This is my lunch break, but it's been an interesting one. Any final words before we wrap up?
I just say that we have one life as us on this planet, and let's be the heroes in the life that we are writing for ourselves. So we can be the change maker. We can be the role parent, role model parent to bring up the future generations also, so that they also look up to us as a role parent, and so they also follow what we do for them, for the family as well as the community. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Any final words? Anyone, Micah and Shuri, any final words?
Okay. My final word would be like, especially for those in Nigeria, we all complain that the government is this, the government is that. Like, but I just believe the way we can make this world better is if we see ourselves as an agent of change, and we should stop calling out relevant stakeholders to do their job. If they are not doing their job, if you know you can do something, or even if you cannot do something, if you have this feeling that you can put these resources, put these people together, then just do it and forget about the government or the agency. And I believe if this culture is imbibed by the youth, and especially the youth of Nigeria, like, you see little or no need for the government, and we'll start making the progress that we really want in this country.
Wow, great
I
leadership.
just like to, sorry, Jane, I just like to add to what Michael said. So when we started, the government was not supportive of what we did because we followed a very little different model from the way the government was solving the issue. 15 years in the project, and then the government invites us to give advice on what should be in the budget and how should we handle this issue. So things change. If you believe in yourself and you do it and you walk your talk, things change.
Excellent. And Shuri, any final words?
I would say listening to both of you and even the challenges that you faced. Anybody who wants to create impact, they should just start. They should just start with the action, and I think the rest will follow with the motivation that they hold within themselves. Yeah, that's the only thing I would say.
I think from my side, I'll say we've heard it all. And I want to say to anyone listening, I think you shouldn't have, if this hasn't inspired you to be that change in your own little way, I don't know what else will. So thank you all for joining. It's been excellent. We hope to do this again in a month's time, but just listening to these stories is enough to inspire us to go be that change and be our own change maker story. Thank you, Pearl. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Anshuri. And thank you to our great audience.
Thank you so much for this lovely